Hey everybody, you know who I am. I'm Tigo. Today we're going to do a little Expert Talk Extra. We're going to talk about summits because a couple of my good friends, Ana-Christina and Wanda Brown, we're in the same boat together. We're all about to launch our summits. We thought, why not get on here and share a little bit? So hold on a second. Here comes Ana-Christina. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Hold on one second. And there's our buddy Wanda. What's happening?
Hello, Tigo. Hello, Ana-Christina.
So this crazy idea of today was all Wanda's fault. As if we didn't have enough going on just trying to figure out the ins and outs of this thing called the summit. Wanda says, hey, why don't we go online and just kind of talk about what's going on? I'm like, talk about what's going on? What's going on? I'm losing my mind. That's what's going on, you know? So let's talk about, the theme of this whole thing. And I'm going to throw the little flyer up we put out. The theme of this whole thing was, are you ready to launch? Mm-hmm. My answer is no, because our summit's not until November. But it's also, are you ready to launch in your business? Are you ready to launch every day? We're going to talk about what it is and what it means to get ready. And as my mama used to say, and stay ready. So Wanda, when is your summit and what is the theme of your summit? I'm going to put your poster up right now with my big head in the center of it.
Yes. So my summit is Permission to Launch Summit, How to Step Out, Reinvent, and Live Success Your Way. And it's happening October 27th through the 29th. And we are super excited. This summit it's primarily for career women who are ready to discover what's next. But, we've had so many men that said, hey, I'm ready to discover what's next. Can I come too? And we said, hey, if you love women, come on over. Come on and join us. And you can just register right at permissiontolaunch.vip. So we are just...
I got to give you a hard time. Do you love women? Now you got a dating channel going on. Come on now.
Women are just amazing. Everybody loves us.
Okay. We're going to get more into that. And Ana-Christina, what is your summit about and when is it?
Well, Tigo, first, thanks for having me here. This is my first time on StreamYard, so this is super exciting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so here's the deal. This is for people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired. And the summit is called the Women's Responder Resilience Summit. My heart call is for first responders. I don't know where it came from because I haven't been one, which is kind of weird because the cops, the military, the firefighters, the EMS, the paramedics, the advocates, they all look at me at the front of the room and say, who's this little girl at the front of the room? You've been a cop? No. You've been a firefighter? No. And why in the blank are you here then? And the bottom line is, it's my calling. And what's funny is I work for first responders. I work not for the military. I'm not in the military, but for personnel in the military on resilience. That's really what we're talking about is resilience. We're talking about instant stress resets because you can't have resilience without the reset. Mm-hmm. So what's fascinating is, yes, I work with first responders. I'm called to work with first responders, and this is for female first responders. And you and I know that foundational tools work everywhere. And resilience is a foundational tool. So I have people just like Wanda, I love what you're saying. I have people saying, is there any way that I can get in? I'm not a first responder. I have ministry professionals. I have entire mega churches here in Denver that are being invited by their counselors, not the people in the church, all the counseling staff in the churches. But it's really, it's focused on resilience tools. So we have physical resilience, we have mental resilience and emotional resilience. So it's very, very exciting to do that. Now it's real resilience, real fast is what we're calling it.
So I have a few questions I want to ask because that sounds amazing. But first I want to put this up so everybody can see the dates, November 4th to the 6th, so people can see the date because we're going to be passing this around so you guys will know. So Ana-Christina, I have a couple of questions. One, if they're first, I'm in Vegas. I believe, Wanda, you're in Atlanta?
Yes.
Or near Georgia?
Sewanee, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta.
Just outside of Atlanta. So, right now with everything going on with COVID, let's talk about that. First responders are, stressed out beyond their normal maximum. And then we've had every kind of, emergency you can think of, from fires to floods to, I mean, people are stealing dogs in my neighborhood right now. Someone literally just stole a puppy from a 6-year-old down the street as she was walking her puppy down the street, jumped out of the car, stole the dog. And the mom kind of chased after him, then realized, thank God they didn't take my child.
Wow.
This is the kind of stuff that's going on. So if I'm a first responder in Nevada or New York, can I go to your summit, and is there skills? Are you telling things that it can help me where I am?
1,000%. I have people in Australia asking if they can jump in. And my answer is yes, yes, yes. I have people who are counselors, trauma counselors, asking if they can jump in. This is for the helpers. I have people in my friend group. In my friends group from Facebook, your main page, just your personal page.
Yeah.
And they're signing up. They have nothing to do with first response. They're teachers, they're educators, they are stay-at-home moms. I have people in their 70s that are retired, that because of all the crisis, because of all the chaos. And what I would say is 95 to 98% of the tools are 100% foundational. There's going to be a few comments that are made. There's nothing graphic. I made sure I bleeped out a couple things because we want it to be family friendly. If we want it, I would say probably 14 and above, 16 and above, just because there's some situations that are talked about. But 100% first responders across the country, Australia and Canada, are already joining. So,
wow. So the definition of first responder to me has changed because of COVID. I mean, I'm prior military, and, people will see me with a Navy hat on or a Navy shirt on or whatever. And they say, thank you for your service. And then people say, well, what does that feel like? But I know medical staff that, are nurses, they're CNAs, they're volunteers, and they're all now first responders. And people see them in their scrubs and go, thank you for your service. And I say, now, what does that feel like? And they go, it is the strangest thing. I just do what I do. And I'm like, yeah, that's how military people, for the most part, we feel like we just do what we do. So the definition to me of first responder has completely swung around to even the grandmothers that, have to go up to the schools and get the homework assignments, and, people that are dealing at the grocery stores. I mean, especially in the heart of COVID. And right now we just had a record, I think it was yesterday in Las Vegas, of the highest number of cases, and it's supposed to be getting better. And they're, in the grocery stores, and you're afraid to give change now. They're discouraging you to give change. Right?
It's changed everything. And so part of it is, all of my words, all of my keywords are really long. Resilience is really long. And responder is pretty long. And victim advocate is really long. And I just decided, to your point, I decided to name it the Women's Responder Summit. And it really is targeted, but not focused, if that makes sense, targeted toward female responders and advocates, because what we see is pre-scene. Okay, so pre-scene is the 911 dispatcher, who's usually invisible. And then you have on-scene, which is usually going to be police, EMS, and fire. But then you have post-scene, which is advocates. Advocates for the victim, for the family, the legal advocates, the domestic violence advocates, the sexual assault advocates, the children's advocates, the counselors, the ministry professionals. They might be hearing about that scene that happened today. They might be hearing about the after effects for years and years and decades that span. So it's just, you're right, it's a responder world. So anyway, it's just exciting. Wanda and I were talking about her, Wanda, your summit and your focus for your summit. And what's funny is she has a totally different quote unquote audience. And yet our audiences all dovetail, because the way that we're serving and how we want to help our audiences. It's really cool.
So Wanda, let's talk about, permission to launch. I mean, especially and you're not out of the hot seat, Ana-Christina, we're coming back. We have so much to talk about, but let's talk about, your summit coming up and permission to launch. You and I have interviewed each other. We've been chatting back and forth. We got lots of good stuff coming. We actually going to do a project together, but women, I think about my mom, I think about my aunts, I think about my female cousins. They don't, for the most part, give themselves permission to step out. You know, they love standing behind the scenes. You know, they're the matriarchs of the family. They make sure everything's running the way it's supposed to. But when it comes down to taking credit for that, they go, oh, no, no. Oh, no, no. So how does someone, give themselves permission for permission to launch?
What a great question. I want to dovetail on the conversation that you and Ana-Christina were having just a second
Please
ago
do.
about this idea of first responder,
Mhm.
because whether it's women or it's the aunt or the grandmother, they may not be a police officer or a fireman, but so often career women and women in general are the first responders in the family. So
Mhm.
if you're a career woman, sometimes you're the first responder in terms of being almost a bank, especially if you're very successful, right? People come to you first to solve their financial problems. Or
Mhm.
you might be a first responder in terms of, I know Ana-Christina and I talked about it yesterday. Um, Sometimes we're a first responder in showing up to live success according to someone else's definition.
Mhm.
But so often, in terms of what it takes for us to really step into our own, is some sort of, I call them tripping points. Something happens, and you realize, hey, if my life ended today, I would have regrets.
Yeah.
So it's so important for women to just sometimes stop and say, if my life ended today, right? And we want everybody to live to be 100 years old. I want to live to be 105, right? But if your life ended today, do you have regrets? Are there things that you wanted to be? You know,
Mhm.
I journaled one time. I started from the age of 5, and I just journaled everything I wanted to be, from Cinderella to a fireman to
Love it.
whatever that is, all the way up to CEO of a company. And then I just said, well, what happened? Like, why didn't I try to be more of these things? Because
Mhm.
that's really what life is about. It's about our journey here and exploring what it means to be alive, and to just enjoy this gift called life that we have been given as a treasure. So anyway, I just see so many parallels. And both of you, I get the privilege, both of you are guest speakers at my summit. Tico is going to be talking with women about your platform. How do you find your voice, and the importance of having a platform? And your story, Tico, is so inspiring. I mean, millions of weekly folks listening to your shows. I mean, inspiring.
Thank you.
Ana-Christina is going to be talking about resilience on day one. And day one is all about how do we grant ourselves permission. And we're going to be talking about resilience. We're going to be talking about how do you value yourself? How do you reconnect? How do you align your mental, physical, spiritual, and just own who you are and all of your idiosyncrasies, those things that you think make you weird, and yet they make you special and amazing. What is it to really embrace that and step out and be
Love it.
your own woman? So anyway, I'm
Love
so
it.
excited, and I get to be with these sheroes, and you guys are amazing.
I believe it's next month or the month after, but I'm almost sure it's November is National Caregivers Month. And National Caregivers Day is coming up. And this year, I think a whole lot of people around the world, millions of people around the world, are finding themselves in a caregiver's position. Just from, usually it's, your parents or your child had an injury, or your parents getting older, you're taking care of them, or God forbid it's, cancer, and you're trying to help with that or something like that. Now, COVID, and some people are, getting it 2 days later. They're like, it was like a cold, I'm fine. And they're just waiting for that clear, all clear, I can go back out. And then others, are in the hospital for weeks, if not over a month. And then, they're told that you're going to be fighting back for a very long time. And people are finding themselves being in the caregiver's position right now. And to me, that's a first responder. To me, that's usually the woman in the household, and she's putting her projects, her dreams, her work, all of that on hold because she's a caregiver first. She's going to take care of her family first. What's you guys' opinion? I'm going to run with Wanda for a second, and then we'll come to you, Ana-Christina. What's you guys' opinion, and what would you say to these caregivers that are out there that finds themselves on the front line?
Yeah, I would say it's so important for you to stay connected with your dreams, with what you want. I was talking, so I wrote a book a while ago, as I've told Tigo and Ana-Christina. I went through cancer, but I
Mhm.
had the opportunity to talk with a woman who, in her 30s, became a caregiver for her mother, who was diagnosed with all kinds of chronic illnesses. And
Mhm.
this woman in her 30s, she had a dream to be a nurse, and she put all of that on hold for years. Well, now she's well into her 40s. She's going back to nursing school, but she talked about how giving up her dream eventually made her resentful. And she loves her mom. Her mom is still alive. But she said, in order to be an effective caregiver, I've got to really embrace what's important to me. Otherwise, I'm just not a great caregiver because I'm resentful and I bring that energy when I'm taking care of my mom. So,
Mhm.
that's what I would say. Really reconnect with what it is that you value, and make sure that you're taking steps to have what you say you want in life, in addition to doing the caregiver's job.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. Anna Christina, what would you say about, these frontline caregivers that are out there?
I plug directly into what Wanda's talking about and saying, okay, how do I maintain that dream, right? How do I
Mhm.
maintain my sights on that dream when what's happening right now is so heavy and so difficult? And I go back constantly to the reset, right? The reset. I always talk about the reset is, okay, how do I think clearly? How do I keep myself focused on who I'm taking care of right now? But also, how do I keep myself focused on my dream? It feels like a dual focus, like a conflict. And
Mhm.
part of what we need to do is be able to step back and to say, what's truly important? Okay. And you step back from that and say, well, wait a second. In order to know what's truly important, I need to know who I am.
Yeah.
And in order to know who you are, you need to know what you were built for. And so it's all about identity, number one. It's all about
Mhm.
identity. And in order to even think about those kind of bigger picture things, because usually the daily stuff is so heavy, right? There's so many details and it's so heavy and you're so tired, is to be able to access instant stress resets. And that's my entire platform for resilience. I don't even ever define resilience. I
Mhm.
don't talk about resilience. I don't really talk about self-care. I don't talk about compassion fatigue, even though those are huge issues. We talk about the reset. And so I teach, that's exactly what I teach. Let's talk about how do you reset so that you can focus on what Wanda's talking about. How do I keep that dream alive? How do I
Mhm.
fill myself up even if I only have 60 seconds? How do I get my thoughts to stop spinning down the toilet, right? In seconds. It takes me so much longer to teach the tools than to actually do the tools. So for me, for a caregiver, any kind of a caregiver, and you might be professionally as a caregiver, right? How about these people that have 30 little kids in a room? How about the
Ooh.
teachers that have 30 little kids in a room when they're actually allowed to go back to school? Everybody's trying to wear masks and try not to touch everything. I mean, right? Caregiver,
Yeah,
it's not about a title, it's about what you're doing for others. So
exactly.
for me, it's about the reset. I always go back to the reset. Let's fill our toolbox with spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical resets. Boom. So that we can use our bodies the way that they were built to get our thoughts under control, to feel better faster, and to get that instant reset.
To me, it seems like, because I've been a caregiver all my life in one way or another. Since I was 8 years old, my grandmother, I had to help her get into the kitchen chair that we had upstairs because we didn't have a wheelchair, and push her down the hall and help her go to the bathroom and all that. Since I was 8, I've been caregiving. And you forget to give yourself permission to dream your own life and live your own life. Everything kind of just goes, oh, I'll get to that later. I got to do this, I got to do that, I'll get to that later. So ladies, what about the first responders, the women that are out there that have dreams of starting their own businesses? They have dreams of creating nonprofits, or doing something different. Maybe they want to be a performer and get on the comedy stage, and they're scared to go out there, and they're putting everybody else and everything else first. And the years are going by. They're looking back, and it's been 10 years, it's been 15 years, and they still have that dream. What do you tell them about carving out a little slice of life for themselves?
Yeah, I would say be intentional about it. Like if it's 15 minutes a day, if it's 1 hour a week, whatever that is, but be intentional about it. Just as you would be intentional about making sure that the person you're caring for goes to that doctor's appointment, treat it with that kind of urgency, because your dream is connected to another person. Like there's someone out there who's not living their fullest because your dreams, your talents are being withheld. And you got to see it that way. I know it sounds maybe grandiose, but think about the people who you've impacted, who've been impacted by you, right? Because they stepped out and followed their dream. I think about Orville and Wilbur Wright, right? Who they never even thought about us, right? But because they stepped out and followed their dreams, the world is smaller. I had a quick trip to Dubai. Think about your own dreams as being that important. You can't see all the steps, but know that what you're doing, your dream is so important, and someone out there needs exactly what you are built to build and to put out into the world. So leaning on something that Ana-Christina said about what you're built for, you are built for magic. You are built for something amazing. And until you take that first step, you will never, ever know.
Wow. What do you think, Ana-Christina?
I think I'm writing notes because I love what she's saying.
I love it. See, that's why we got the recording. I can go back later.
Quotes can fire me up. So for me, it's all about the baby steps. Yes, it's about the intentionality for sure. And sometimes people get so overwhelmed. You're like, well, I'm 53. I am 53. So there's some things that perhaps I've lost out on in my younger years. And there's some things that I wish that I'd done differently with my 3 sons. There's some things that you can spend your time regretting, which is really nothing but anxiety in the past. Or there are things that you can spend your time worrying about, which is nothing but anxiety in the future. Or what you can do is say, you know what, I'm here right now. Take a deep breath and then just ask yourself, what do I want? Because sometimes where people get stuck is they get stuck in the what I don't want. I don't want this. I don't want this. This sucks. This stinks. This is stupid. This is horrible. This is just the way it is. And when we can step from that, what I don't want, and step into what do I want, and then take that one baby step. I always wanted to ride a motorcycle, bucket list item. Nobody in my family rides a motorcycle. They like think it's horrible. And
so we're a motorcycle family. So when you're ready, let me know.
And so, what did I do? I took one baby step. I got on the internet and I looked up motorcycle classes. That's it. That's all I had to do. I took one step, looked up the motorcycle class, was $120. I had to have boots and I had to have a helmet, and I could rent the helmet, but I had to have boots on and a long sleeve shirt. That's it. And they provided the rest. Yep. Okay, well, that's cool. And so then what's the next step? Then I, made sure I had enough money. I was a single mom and didn't have a lot a lot of money. And so I made sure I had the $120, made sure I blocked out 2 days for the training. That was just little tiny, teeny steps. I've since taken advanced classes. I've since had 3 bikes. I've put bikes on the track. I have an 800cc fire engine red sport bike that I love to ride. People are like, protection. I'm like, dude, I wear 25 to 35 pounds of gear every single time I step on that bike. And we make sure that our mindsets are in the right place. That's part of what you're asking, is how do we get the little baby steps taken, which is not just physical steps, is it? It's spiritual with connection, it's mental with your thoughts, and it's emotional with your heart. And even one of the baby steps can be, how do you get the lies out of your head? That chatter that goes on, you're too old, you can't do this. What do you think you're doing? You're stupid, you're dumb. All that bull snot that goes on in our heads. And so what we get to do is we get to take those baby steps, that awareness. So exactly what Wanda's saying is it's intentional.
That's amazing. I'm sitting here going, wow. I don't even care about my summit right now. I'm just sitting here going, this is awesome. I do have a question though. Wanda will tell you, I have 1,000 questions. We can sit here all day, but we won't. Residue. It's like people, when they're in the heat of the moment, when they're in the crisis, mothers can pick cars off their babies when they're in a crisis and don't even think about it. That's my child, I'm getting them out. But then they don't think anything, there's no residue left from that. They don't think anything's going to happen to them. They figure they could just move on, especially women, first responders, females in general, people in general. But we carry things on our backs in our mental and emotional states that we don't even realize is making decisions for us 5 years from now, 10 years from now. What would you tell someone that's sitting out there going, I'm fine. I may not be moving, towards my goals right now because I got other things to do, and not realizing that it could be because of you've been a first responder in one of the worst years in human history, and every day seems to be a new crisis, or you've gone through a medical issue, or, you've been the matriarch of this family and taken on everybody else's problems and never took a chance to look at your own. What do you say about that, residue that's just like stuck there and needs to get out of the way?
Here's what I would say.
Okay.
Pause and forgive yourself and just accept everything. Like no matter what age you are, right? You've done things that you have called a mistake. I'm not sure that there are really any mistakes. I think all of it is fodder. It's raw materials to prepare us for what's next. But let's say you're a career woman, right? And you've been a first responder in terms of showing up in your career, living success someone else's way. You've made mistakes. Maybe you have regrets. Maybe you ended up marrying your company and leaving behind your heart. Right. And so now you find yourself, you're 53 and you don't have that partner that you always dreamed of. Like, sit and just say, forgive yourself for whatever you're calling a mistake. All of what you have been through, all of what you've done, everything that you called a mistake, every success is now raw material that you can use to take into your future thing. But use it as a time to move forward. Don't just gloss over it, because as you said, Tico, we cover up a lot of stuff and we think we can just put a Band-Aid on it. Meanwhile, it's an open, gaping wound that we put a Band-Aid on and we think no one else will notice. And yet life just keeps repeating itself and we wonder why. And it's because we haven't just sat with it, embraced it, forgiven ourselves, forgiven other people, and moved on. But Ana-Christina, what do you say, Firewoman? You're amazing at this.
I have like 18,000 thoughts running through. So the first thing I would say is, are there patterns happening in your life? Because I'm thinking of she's a 45-year veteran firefighter, wildland firefighter who's on my summit as a speaker. And not all of my speakers are any kind of responder or advocate. I did that on purpose. I brought people in from different streams. She happens to be a former first responder. And one of her quotes, one of the gems that she dropped, she goes, "I'm fine, you're fine, I'm good, we're all good." What a crock.
Right?
That's really what she's like. We're good, we're fine. And when you're in the corporate world, and I used to be, I'm just going to say this, it's still very male dominated. And there's a very male dominated kind of a culture. Suck it up or man up. If you don't like it, there's the door. And so we tend to put on these masks, right? Professional masks. So getting back to the area of the residue, number one, you're working in that culture that says, suck it up or suck it up or get out, just suck it up.
Suck it up, buttercup.
Whatever. Yeah, suck it up, buttercup. And funny, haha, but guess what? It's not all joke. So part of what I would say is with the residue, here's how we find residue. And it's exactly what Wanda said. I'm like, Wanda. And we didn't talk before this, right? But the bottom line is, it's all about the patterns. Okay. And so what you do is you take a look and see what patterns are going on in your life. And guess what? If you don't care for them, you're like, hey, why does this always happen to me? We want to take a look at what's going on. So for example, so 23 years ago, I fled domestic violence with my 3 little boys off of a remote Alaskan island. And it's totally a story out of Hollywood. So 36 hours later or so, 4 layovers, we land here in Denver with the clothing on our backs and no luggage. No luggage. And so this is a place of starting over. What we want to do is then start looking for patterns. What were the boyfriends in my past? What was the generational stuff in my family? What ended up happening after that? Well, I was totally like this on men. I hated men because they were monsters. See how that happens? That pattern happened, even though men aren't monsters. Some men are monsters. And then I didn't trust women. Why? Because they were weak. There's a pattern going on there. And so if you start looking at the patterns in your life, that indicates the residue. Yeah. That indicates the residue. And you may get the residue because of your history. You may get the residue because of trauma. How many women do I talk to that have had sexual assault or domestic violence in their background? And when we're talking one-on-one and people talk to me confidentially, of course, about stuff, and all of a sudden we start to see the pattern that they didn't think really affected them because it happened, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 10 years ago. Just because time passes doesn't mean the wound heals.
Yeah, that old saying is not true.
Doesn't
time does not heal all wounds.
So that idea, the residue, we're looking for patterns. And if there are patterns that are unhealthy and that kind of seem to keep coming, even though it's different people, different situations, different states, guess what? The awareness is where the healing can start to come in.
Wow. Okay. Before we get further in, because I know we only have you guys for a couple of more minutes here. I have the best business partners in the world. Let me just go there. And my business partner, Ann, went and looked it up for me. Thank you. Caregivers Month is November and Caregivers Day is February 3rd. She even went as detailed to tell me it was a Friday. I love them. They take care of me. Ann is the best. I should have had her come on this thing today, but she's, running the ship right now. That's what I say. She's the captain of our ship. And she keeps us steering because you know me, I would run us right in the shore because I'm the creative one. So let's go a little bit lighter. Let's talk about your summits. Let's talk about, what 3 key things would you like people to take away from the summit when it's done? What are the 3 points that you would like people to take away? Wanda.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. What 3? 1, I want career women to be able to define success their own way, right? If corporate America is for you and that sings to your heart, this is not about, leaving it necessarily, but this is about really sitting with yourself, understanding what you value, and being willing to give yourself permission to live success, live your life in a way that feels good and that feels fulfilled to you. That would be 1. The second thing that I want you to be able to take away is that there are a tribe of women who are ready. They're sharing their stories, their tools, their frameworks as a gift to you to help you live a life beyond your dreams. I think when you listen to these dozens of speakers from around the world who have come, like Ana-Christina, like Tigo, you're going to see women with a heart to serve other women. And so you are among a tribe. And then the third thing I hope that you will get at least one tool, one idea that you will take action on. Because that's really the whole point of all of these. We're going to be giving you lots of content, dropping 8 to 9 videos every day. The point is not really to get through all the content, although I hope that you do. But if you walk away with one new idea, one new tool that was in your place of I didn't even know that I didn't know, and you can activate that in your life will be transformed. So I think that would be the 3 for women coming to the Permission to Launch Summit.
That's awesome. Ana-Christina, what are your 3 things?
It's getting tools, right? It's getting physical, mental, and emotional tools.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to drop probably some bonus stuff as far as faith-based tools, spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't let anybody know that till right now, this second. And
Ooh, exclusive.
you're going to get tools to help you up your game, raise your happy, and get your life back. And that's pretty bold. The bottom line is when you find the one secret, when you find the one tool that works for you, then you run with it. And that's what resilience does. As you build resilience, as you get those ideas, as you get these different stories from these experts in all different kinds of ways. I had front row seats because I got to interview all of them, and I was just stunned.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, up your game, raise your happy, and get your life back. Those are the actual tools we're going to get. We don't talk loosey-goosey. We don't talk 10,000 foot, everybody be happy. That's not how I run. I roll and I say, we need to know how in the midst of life crashing down. So you're going to get tools. You're going to get tools.
I know it's my turn. And before I go to my turn, I want to say, with the audience that you're talking with, Ana-Christina, don't you find you have to be direct? When I'm talking with military people or prior servicemen or, fire, rescue, whatever, these are people that are trained to deal with it now and get it moving. They don't want to deal with 10,000 foot overviews. They want to get to the points. Am I correct?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. So my summit, and there's my cute little artwork. My summit is November 16th, 17th, and 18th. And it's the Extreme Biz Summit, and it's all about bootstrapping. And I was kidding with somebody the other day and said it's bootstrapping, not broke strapping. Okay. Let me get this right. They were like, were you going to talk to a bunch of broke people that can't? No. The people that I have in my summit are very successful in what they're doing. Some of them are, just getting really on a good roll and starting to build their business. But we actually have a young man in there that's made $1 million in less than 24 hours. We have someone who's generated over $1 billion in revenue in his business in the last 5 years. Somebody who's done $10 million in the last 4 months or so in the middle of COVID. And they're all bootstrappers. Bootstrapping is about, you got two ways to do this thing. And I say it all the time. You can buy your way in, if you got a trust fund or a war chest of money and you just feel like doing it, or you can work your way in, and bootstrapping is about just that. You're putting in the work. It's what we're doing right now, ladies. We all had 15 other things we could have done today. I heard Wanda say earlier, we haven't been to bed. We're all staying up to the middle of the night trying to get our summits ready, but we're putting in the work. This is what has to happen. There's no magic cauldron and you put a little sprinkle and it's like Kool-Aid and you just stir it and serve it. You got to put the work in. And that's what bootstrapping is about. If you can't afford to buy your weight in, or even if you can afford it, but you're going, I'm not wasting money on that. I'm going to stay up till 2 a.m. and do my editing. I'm not giving you $5,000 to edit my summit. I'm going to stay up until 2 a.m. to get this done or that done. That's called being an entrepreneur. That's called being a bootstrapping entrepreneur, because you can take what little resources you may have, or maybe tons of resources you may have, and put it towards something else that's going on, something else that you can't do in-house. No matter how technical I am, people know my story. I'm a computer geek. I've been around computers since high school. I program in 16 computer languages and been in production for 20 years. No matter how, almost 20, how technically gifted I am, I can't bootstrap Facebook ads. I can't send in a note and say, look, I'm really, really good. I make it look really, really cute. Can I get a discount? No. They go by the kind of words you're using, the market you're going after, and this is how much it's going to cost you, and done. So there's some things you cannot bootstrap. So let's make it right. It's bootstrapping, not broke strapping. You're going to have to put money into your business. The more work you can do yourself, the more money you can save. the people that are coming into my summit are sharing their journeys. We did journey interviews. They're telling how they got there, where they're going, and where they came from. Because a lot of people go, well, that's not me. I don't have a multi-million-dollar business. Well, neither did he. This is a young man who literally was on military, maneuvers, sitting in a foxhole. Thank God it wasn't live, but sitting in a foxhole with a Russell Brunson.com secret book in one hand and a rifle in the other. If that's not bootstrapping, what is? This is mothers that are picking up their kids and they've got their phones playing a live stream, training or something. They're running back to make a meeting because they had 15 other things going on the same day. That's bootstrapping, y'all. That's what it's about. And that's what we're going to share. And that's what we're talking about. And yeah, I'm going to give people, the guides to help them create content for their first videos or their websites or their funnels, be able to understand what an LLC is versus a corporation or sole proprietorship, which, by the way, before we even get there, don't do sole proprietorships unless you absolutely have to. Okay. That kind of stuff. And then we're also going to talk about where you are. Here's ways to get where you want to go. And here's ways, mainly the theme is fear. We're showing you my 3 things are, we're showing you how to get over your fear, how to get out of your own way, and how to generate a 6 or 7 figure project or business, starting with whatever's in your pocket today, and then building your way up. Now, are you going to turn into Steve Jobs and have Apple computers in the next year? No. We're not the lottery, but you can build to whatever goal you want to hit as long as you put those goals in steps. Don't sit there and say, I want to go from $100 in my pocket, $1,000, $10,000 in my pocket to multi-millions in a year. Unless you hit the lottery or something I don't know. And if you do, call me. I'm Tigo. That's not going to happen right away. But you can say, I want to go from $100 to $1,000. I want to go from 1,000 to 10, 10 to 100,000, 100,000 to 1,000,000, and on and on and on. Because the one thing I've learned by talking to all these experts that I've had the privilege to meet now, they all say the same thing. It takes even less work to make a whole lot of money than it takes to make a little money. It depends on what you're doing, but you can be very successful in what you do. And we're going to show you how to bootstrap your way there. So that's my thing. We're bootstrapping, y'all. That's my mastery. Bootstrapping, not broke strapping. Ladies, I want to thank you for hanging out. I know we said we're going to do about a half an hour. We're like 43 minutes in, but I am so proud and so happy to stand next to you and say, yeah, we're doing this thing. We all have family members. We all have medical issues. We all are dealing with COVID. We're our own first responders in our households. We still have to work our day projects or our day jobs or deal with clients or whatever the heck we're doing. And we're still blazing our trails. And I'm so glad you guys decided to blaze a little bit of your trail with me today. I totally appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Tigo. You're amazing. So generous. Your heart to serve is amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tigo, thank you so much for having us here. This was fun. It was my first StreamYard, so thanks for.
I'm glad it was fun. Didn't want to scare you away. Have her go, I'm never doing that again.
Thank you. And thank you for what you're doing for people, because you're changing lives. You're changing lives when you're teaching them how to do that.
I think we're all changing lives. And before we let everybody go, we're going to throw the artwork one more time. Wanda, when is your launch again?
Yes, October 27th through the 29th. Go to permissiontolaunch.vip and we will see you there.
Awesome. Ana-Christina, when is your launch?
Yeah, it's November 4 to 6. So it's Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, right after the election. And it's wrrsummit.com.
Awesome. And then for me, it is Extreme Biz Summit all about bootstrapping, November 16th, 17th, and 18th. And I hope you guys be in the place. It's Extreme, Xtreme, Biz, B-I-Z, summit.com. Yes, I'm from the south side of Chicago, and we love spelling stuff our way, okay? So I'm going to let you guys go, and I'll talk to you next time.